Hey, this is April, and this show, Set Show, discusses cannabis, psychedelics, and altered states of consciousness generally. It's intended for audiences 21 and over. Also, I am not a medical expert. If you are looking to engage with psychedelic substances, please consult your physician before doing so. Welcome back. I'm April Pride, your host for Set Show, a resource for everyone curious to explore how to safely use cannabis and psychedelics for their clinically proven therapeutic potential and beyond. If you like what you hear on this show, please rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. It really does help more people find our show. Today, I'm joined by Jennifer Whetzel, founder of Lady Jane Branding and Clio Cannabis award-winning creator of the Women in Cannabis study. In this episode, she shares her personal journey with at-home ketamine therapy and how it's helped her confront trauma and find new pathways to healing. Jennifer shares her experience with ketamine, shedding light on how at-home ketamine treatment offers a safe and supportive environment for processing deep emotions and accessing self-compassion. And for our Seattle listeners, are you curious about how psychedelics are revolutionizing mental health care? Then join me for our next Psychedelic Salon on Monday, March 3rd at Town Hall, Seattle, 7:30 p.m. This month's topic, psychedelics and depression. We're going to focus on the transformative potential of psychedelic-assisted therapy for mental health. We'll dive into the latest clinical findings on how psychedelics like psilocybin and ketamine are being used to treat depression, including major depressive disorder and treatment-resistant depression, postpartum depression, and PMDD. Seattle-based experts will share groundbreaking research and discuss the therapeutic mechanisms behind these treatments, giving you a deeper understanding of how they're reshaping the mental health landscape. Whether you're looking for new ways to manage mental health or simply curious about these novel therapies, this salon offers valuable insights into the science and promise of psychedelics. Seats are limited. Visit townhallseattle.org to reserve yours today, Monday, March 3rd at 7:30 p.m. at Town Hall, Seattle. I've linked to this in the show notes of today's episode. Psychedelic Salon is hosted by me at Town Hall on the first Monday of each month at 7:30 p.m. Sign up for Set's newsletter for information on each month's topic and our featured guests. Now, we dive into the transformative potential of ketamine therapy and what it means to take healing into our own hands right from home.
I would like to introduce Jennifer Whetzel, who I've known of for years from our work concurrently in the cannabis space. My background is in corporate marketing and advertising, and I did that for about 25 years. And then I had a really rough year with a lot of traumas and was able to use cannabis to help me get through those things. And because of that, I wasn't in a space where I could go back to a corporate job. And I started a business in cannabis basically to run away from my trauma. And that was Lady Jane Branding. And I spent a number of years working really hard in the cannabis space, branding. And then the study that you mentioned was the Women in Cannabis study. And the idea for that was to actually research women who work in the cannabis space to see what their experiences were. And it was a very lengthy study. We talked to over 1,500 women. And it was about their experiences coming into the cannabis industry and what they wanted to do there, but also into their usage of cannabis. And I did a concurrence of 10,000 people who were either curious about cannabis or current consumers. And so we had some very interesting usage data with women who work in the industry, who I named industry insiders, women who currently use cannabis, and then curious women.
You mentioned that you had a traumatic year, and that's what's one traumatic year. So then was it that? What spurred you to say yes to ketamine treatment? How did that come into your life?
I heard about ketamine here and there over the years, and cannabis does wonders for me, but doesn't do everything that I need. I grew a lot during my cannabis years. It helped open my mind to understand the work that I needed to do. I did a lot of therapy. I did a lot of integration work.
I did some dynamic neural brain retraining exercises for a year to change my brain. But I was always hoping that there was going to be another treatment option for me. I wanted to do psilocybin and I tried it a number of times and it just never worked out. And I feel like my brain's not ready for that. And when my cannabis doctor, when I found out that he was offering ketamine treatment, I called him right away and went for an appointment and got the troches, the lozenges to do at home.
How did you figure it out?
So early on, I tried music during the treatments, and the dose that I use does give me the dissociative state, which for me is the point. I realized that for me, I need meditation with words. I need guided meditation. With ADHD, my brain likes to wander, and I can meditate, and I do meditate successfully, but sometimes it's hard to get my brain to focus inward. Sometimes it's still focusing outward. And so I found some meditations that I listen to every time. I really like Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. And I also found one that it's a woman who does meditations for children. And she sounds like a fairy godmother. And the meditations are wonderful and they leave me so happy. There's Land of Gratitude and Loving Kindness. And they're just, I wish someone had spoken to me like that when I was a child and taught me how to do that. And so it really feels like I'm learning every time I go into the meditation and I receive messages. And for the integration afterwards, I try and write as quickly and as much as I can. And I'm not always successful there. But I also spend time reviewing old pictures of myself and friends and family so that I can remember wonderful moments of my life. I find things that make me really happy. Sometimes it's music and dancing. Sometimes it's pictures. Sometimes it's silly pictures of myself that I can laugh at. But I like to spend some, after the treatment alone with my door closed, no people around, to do that work.
Do you listen to the same meditations when you're not taking ketamine?
It's a new meditation every time, but the repetition is incredibly helpful. I like to know the answers. Like if there's going to be a question, I like to know what I'm focusing on, what my intention is, what I'm doing. Or else I get distracted.
And I know the feeling. So you said that dissociation is the point. Can you explain what you mean by that?
A long time to learn how to meditate. The first time it was 90 seconds that I could sit still. Like it took me a long time to learn how to sit in a chair and just sit still in a chair. And so with ADHD, I'm always tense. My body's tense. It's hard to relax. It's hard to sit down. It's hard to rest. You have to rest during a dose of ketamine. When the ketamine kicks in, it's eyes closed, sit down right now. I sit down immediately. I take medicine, I sit down, I put the eye mask on, and I get started with my meditations. And because I have to get myself settled before I can meditate. So the dissociative feeling where I stop really feeling my body allows me to focus on my mind. And it allows me to go in deeper. I had surgery recently. And so sometimes at the end of ketamine treatment, I had surgery on my joints and I have to do the physical therapy of working the joints, and I'll do it then because it doesn't hurt. But I know.
Right.
It wears off probably within a couple hours because you start to feel your body again. So like, all of the feeling comes back, including the pain. The dissociative feeling, I explain it. If you've ever had nitrous at the dentist, that's what it feels like.
Do you think that your rehab, do you think it's been expedited by using ketamine? Because it is something that is being prescribed for chronic pain. And I don't know if it's because you get that period of time where you know what it's like to be pain-free. I do believe physiologically there's also mechanisms of action at play. But yeah, I'm just wondering if you think it's expedited your rehab.
Yes, I would say so. The other thing that I've noticed, and I don't think this was something I did on purpose. Like I didn't work on this, but I feel like my feelings about pain have changed. It's not scary anymore. When I had surgery on both of my big toes, they hurt. Oh, they hurt. Like I'm not freaked out about the pain. It doesn't scare me anymore. It's just, that hurts a little bit. Oh, and then move on. The last time I had surgery when I broke my elbow, I was on opioids for 3 months.
Were you nervous about having?
I was totally nervous because I didn't want to take them. I took them for 7 days and then I was like, I don't need these anymore. And I stopped and I used to like pills a whole lot and I would get as many as I could and I didn't need them. And it was a relief.
That's cool.
It was a relief. I think that's the ADHD, the OCD, all of the whatevers. Honestly, my first encounter with pills was when I had my wisdom teeth out and the anesthetic did not work properly. I was kicking and screaming and biting and yelling. And my mother was in the waiting room, and the story she tells is, I don't know what they're doing to my daughter. Are they killing her? But no one came. Like, they just left me in there, and I cried for a week. I was 14, and they gave me pills, and I took them, and I took a lot of them. And then soon I started drinking. And I was a binge drinker, off and on, not every day, for decades, for a lot of reasons, because I was uncomfortable around people. I was tired. I didn't want to be around people. And so I drank to be comfortable. I also drank to have a hangover so I could rest. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's interesting. I connect with that. And
Yep.
and I didn't know it until right now.
I didn't know it either. So I drank for a long time. I took pills for a long time. I had an eating disorder for a long time. I was addicted to dieting and exercise and measuring things, myself, my body, my blood sugar, my ketones.
Mhm.
It was a lot and nobody knew.
Wow.
And I was afraid for people to know.
Of course. The perfectionism that
But
comes along with ADHD is real.
It's hard. I moved to Maine where I live now so that I could get my medical card. I lived in the Midwest. Cannabis was not an option for me, but I knew it was going to help with the pain that I was dealing with.
Your medical
Physical
card
pain.
for marijuana.
A medical card for, yes. Because I knew it would help with the pain of the actual issues that I had, as well as everything else. And once I started smoking cannabis, within a year, I had quit all pharmaceutical pills. I was taking handfuls of medications for the issues that I had. Handful, on top of the opioids. So I'm off everything except for cannabis and ketamine. I don't drink anymore. My eating disorder is 100% resolved, which is such a relief. Yeah.
Okay.
After I started cannabis, it probably took 6 months. I traded all of the pills and treatments for more natural things that I was in charge of instead of a doctor.
That's incredible that 6 months you were able to. Did you work with anyone?
No, I knew it was a problem.
Did you work with anyone because coming off of so much medication at once can be dangerous?
Oh, I tapered everything.
Okay. It wasn't the first
No,
time
I
you had tried to do something like this, right?
Oh.
Yeah. And I have to say, I read an article in Rolling Stone last night that is talking about the number of women who are having their children still taken away from them because their children test positive for cannabis when they're born. And their doctors have told them to consume cannabis because they have morning sickness. They're at the hospital all the time. They're not gaining weight. Their babies aren't gaining weight. And then when their babies are born, they test positive for THC. They're taken away from them. Or they live in a place like Cleveland where one in every 150 people has died of an opioid overdose.
Oh my God.
And so they don't want to take pills because they're a mom. And so they opt for cannabis like you did after surgery. And their child is taken away from them. And all I could think was, we just don't live in a place, there's just not this real understanding of what harm reduction is. And when you think of all the destruction that alcohol does, I'm still in this place of, honestly, I was shocked reading the whole article that harm reduction, all the language around it, the understanding that we have, the fact that we don't have any clinical evidence that shows that cannabis for a mom is, or in a child's, found in a child during a drug test is actually going to have a negative impact. And I'm really in the middle here because I've had my own issues with cannabis use disorder. So this is not sugar-coated and I'm not Pollyanna about all this. But if you're going to choose, why don't you talk about the difference in your life for us when you chose alcohol versus when you chose cannabis? I think if people really understood, you're going to choose something, right? We are who we are.
Yes, I am strongly for harm reduction. And I have my own issues with cannabis use disorder, but I'm going to choose that over every other, including the eating disorder. That eating disorder could have killed me. Cannabis isn't going to kill me.
Yeah.
But to me, alcohol and pills are substances for closing your mind and running away. And I did a lot of that. I did not know how to emote in any sort of way. I did not know how to use my voice. So I, let the alcohol do the talking for me. That doesn't always work out very well.
Right. It's a lot louder and angrier
Oh my God.
than I guess
And
you are.
Yes, cell phones with videos did not exist when I was a young person drinking a lot of alcohol, because things would have gone very differently.
Yeah.
So to me, alcohol and pills make me feel worse.
Yeah.
In every sort of way. Yet I still couldn't stop doing them.
Sure.
Once I started with cannabis, it helped me emote. Like I cried for me. The tears kept coming because they were stuck, and cannabis helped me let them out. The call was coming from inside my head, and I needed to answer it and listen and hear what it was saying. So I had to leave my husband. It's not a good person. I had to not go back to a corporate job. I had to change my whole life, but I heard the message this time and I took action. Cannabis helped me do that, and ketamine helps me do it even more. Ketamine helps remove the blocks of taking the action so that I can do the things that my spirit wants, but the flesh, no, I don't want that. Now I can listen. I can listen to what it is that I want and do the things that I call her Future Jennifer. Future Jennifer talks to me and she tells me what she wants. She gives me guidance and I don't always listen. Ketamine helps me listen to her. And when I do the things that Future Jennifer suggests, my life goes better.
Yes. There's the future Jennifer, and there's also neurologically what's happening is, as we talk about throughout your life, you make decisions, you create these groups in your brain. When this happens, I do this. And so when you go through ketamine treatment, you're not just taking time to relax, listening to these live meditations, you're also changing your brain, which allows you to look at things differently and to make different choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the interesting things is sometimes when I make these new choices and I take the action that was hard before, it feels like I'm having a brain spasm. And then I cry to let out whatever was stuck. And then I can do the thing easily, like the block is gone. It's the weirdest thing.
And that is
very exciting.
And that is not while you're under the influence of ketamine.
Like when I had to say something difficult to my partner, and in my previous lives, I would have just swallowed it and moved on. And I said the words out loud and I just immediately started crying because it was so not what I would typically do. And now I can do it without any difficulty.
It is great.
Because I practiced. I took the action. And once you take the action, it breaks the cycle.
Yeah. And you do it and you realize, oh, I feel better and things will be better. You take the fear out of it because you actually just do the thing and you are still standing.
And if you're ready to dive deeper into the world of ketamine, be sure to check out the show notes of this episode to link to SetSet's comprehensive ketamine guide, a clinician-created resource available in both PDF and audio that covers candidate criteria, dosing, methods of administration, contraindications, science, history, and more. The SetSet website has this resource available for purchase and download, as well as DIY guides for psilocybin and microdosing. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I'm your host, April Pride. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review SetSet wherever you listen. It really does help more people find the show. And a special offer just for our listeners. Enter discount code SHOW20, that's SHOW20 at checkout for 20% off SetSet psychedelic cards, our powerful set and setting in a box. Check out our show notes for the link and make your next journey extraordinary.